And we are live. We have a lot of people here in chat. So we're running a first poll. Let us know how you're feeling today. I see we have people from all over the world. Charlotte, Vasa, Sweden, France, Germany, Boston. Ryan, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Ooh, what time is it for you? Must be pretty early, like 10?
Yeah, it's 10 a.m.,
Okay,
which is kind of
amazing.
great. I usually do webinars in the afternoon. I like doing it in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, we really wanted to do it in the morning. This way we could have both EU and US audiences. We have been getting crazy attention for this event. I think we have nearly 800 signups. We have a couple of hundred people that are already here. So say hi in chat. Let us know where you're from. And this is going to be a really amazing session. I am so excited about this. I see we have mixed feelings here in chat today. Some people are happy, some are sleepy, some are cold. It is super cold here in Paris. It was like 4 degrees this morning. I hate it, but that's kind of par for the course, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely chilly here as well. And my dog likes if I don't open a window for him so he can look out and like smell the world, he gets upset. So my window was open today at like 6 a.m.
Oh, wow. Listen, Ryan, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing events, and we have so much to cover today. First of all, I just wanted to quickly, I wanted all of you to meet Ryan. I mean, a lot of you are here because you know of Ryan. So maybe just before we get started, I have a super quick story. I was running through one of our customers. They were telling me how painful it was for them to build all of their like reports around their Zoom webinars in HubSpot. And it had been already a few months that marketing events had been released, but they hadn't really built anything around it. You could make lists, that's pretty much it. And so I go into the reports and I see that now you can build reports around marketing events. And I'm like, mind blown. So I had my eye on Ryan for already quite a while. I was thinking I wanted to make some content around HubSpot with Ryan. So I was thinking this is the perfect opportunity to have Ryan hop on with us. So yeah, everyone meet Ryan. And those of you that are here from Ryan, I'm Max. I'm the head of growth here at Contrast. And yeah, Ryan, you maybe want to give it a little bit of an intro?
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Ryan Gunn. I am the founder of Attribution Academy. We make courses on how to do attribution in HubSpot. We actually launched our first course this morning, about an hour ago. So it's a busy day over here, but I'm
Can we get
excited to
some
take a little.
tapping emojis in the
Yeah,
chat, please, for Ryan? Good job. Amazing.
I I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm happy to be able to take an hour away from my notifications to do this because this is something that I care deeply about.
Amazing. Um, Cool. So today we're going to be going through kind of A to Z marketing events, all from what they are, where to find them, how to set them up, all the way into some really interesting use cases that you probably saw um, signing up for this event. So most of you have likely already seen this dashboard. This is very likely what drove you to this event. Ryan put together this amazing piece of content built around marketing events, but also some other stuff that we're going to talk about today. And I honestly, Ryan, was super impressed when I saw this. Registrations and attendance over time, the drop-offs, something that I really love. Let me zoom in on this. Maybe some people didn't see is the average time to close based on the number of attended events. That is crazy data. Something that was super hard to get in the past. And this is all like automatically updated, right? This is not something that you do as a one-off. This just pulls from marketing events, right?
Yeah, this is actually a combination of data from marketing events and contrast because you guys also push data into HubSpot. Marketing events by itself doesn't really do much. You can import data into it manually, but it works best when you've got it hooked up to a webinar platform like Contrast. So actually, you reached out to me. We met up at Inbound, and we were talking about this, and I got really curious. Like, how do I take a bunch of webinar data and create a useful dashboard like this? Because I had done kind of one-off stuff where I was building workarounds or using a custom object or something like that. And I was like, let's strip it down, like make it as easy as possible, use as much default functionality that comes with marketing events and webinar integration, and you can make some really cool stuff with that without having to like over engineer everything, which is typically what I turn to when I can't figure something out.
So we have a first question here from Jory. Ah, man, always a catch, need contrast. And I want to be super, super clear that the goal of this event is not to pitch you contrast. We're going to show you some super cool things you can do with it. But a lot of what is going to be shown today can be done with, the Zoom integration to marketing events or some other platforms. So it's not a must-have, but it is a very nice to have. And a quick follow-up from Sandra. What is contrast? We are the #1 rated HubSpot integration for webinar platforms. So more on that later. I don't want to spend too much time on this, really focus on the value, but there you go. That way you just have it up front. So Ryan, let's jump right in. What are marketing events and where can we find them?
Yeah, so HubSpot released marketing events several years ago. And nobody really knew about them because they hid them away in a dark corner of HubSpot that was hard to access. Uh, you could not access them through the navigation menu. You would have to like go to an existing object like contacts, and on the index page you could hit a drop down that showed all the other objects. And marketing events was like at the very bottom of that list. And even if you could access it, there was really nothing you could do with it unless you, I think when it started, it was like just the Zoom webinars integration. So it was this thing that like existed, and every once in a while, somebody would find it and be confused by it. But I don't think anybody really, yeah, I was too. I was like, why does this exist? So it was just this weird little thing that HubSpot did that didn't seem to actually do much. And since then, they've made some updates. You can now import attendees and registrations. So if you want to do like in-person events and track them through marketing events, you can do it that way. But also they've added more integrations that connect to marketing events, like Contrast. And very recently, as you mentioned, they added the ability to use marketing events data in lists, or I guess now it's called segments, reports, and workflows. So that's opened up like a whole new realm of possibilities in terms of actioning your event data, which is really exciting because this little dinky, I won't even call it an object. It's like a semi-object. It's suddenly useful in ways that it has never been before. And can you scroll down a little bit? We've got another screenshot there of how to use it within workflows. So when you create a workflow or a list or a report, you're going to have a variety of different options for what you can use for say the trigger criteria. And HubSpot has organized it into properties and events. And I think there's a third option. Can't remember what that is. I don't use it very often. But under events, there are marketing events, which is this object that we're talking about. There's also app events, which we will get into shortly. But that is where you will find data that Contrast or your other webinar platforms, or really like any integration that leverages app events, those will show up in that menu as well. So this screenshot shows the data that you can use based on just the marketing events object. So what you would expect, did they register? Did they attend? Did they cancel? And then attendance duration is an interesting one. I think that's a relatively new addition. But a lot of really cool implications there that we can get into a bit more in the use case section.
Yeah, I mean, I think attendance duration is definitely a very, very strong signal of, interest in a specific topic. If you join this event at the first second and you're here until the end, you probably liked it, right? Or there was at least something that was interesting to you in there. And actually, a really interesting thing, I was playing around with the reports. It's possible to send like a join date and an end date to marketing events. And then what HubSpot does is it auto calculates either the percentage of attendance or the time. So you can then do different things. And, have they been here for 20 minutes? Did they attend more than 50%? And all those can be used. We'll talk about this a little bit later when we go through kind of the use case question to do scoring or attribution or stuff like that. Okay. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about, yes, we have this poll running. What are you hoping to learn today? Getting started with marketing events, building webinar event dashboards, attribution, lead scoring. Okay, this is great because we have quite a few use cases planned on dashboards and on attribution. And yeah, if you have any other questions about getting started with marketing events, please drop them in the chat. We will be doing a Q&A at the end of the session. So anything we can't get through live is going to be kind of covered at the end. So don't worry if we don't answer your questions straight away. We will be answering those towards the end. And just quickly while we're at it, because we're still doing the intro to marketing events, what level of HubSpot do you need for this reporting? Tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan. I think it's on all plans, right?
It is, yeah. It's on all the way from free all the way up. Obviously, if you want to like truly leverage that data, sometimes it's helpful to have pro or above because then you get access to workflows. But like you can hook up a contrast integration to a free HubSpot portal and get that data into the marketing events object. And there's still ways that you can use it.
Okay, perfect. So listen, before we get into the specific use cases, and this is really going to be the main point of today, we're going to spend the majority of our time on the use cases. We were kind of alluding to this earlier. To make all of this work, you need the data in HubSpot, right? I mean, Ryan, you work with a lot of HubSpot shops. Choosing tools that integrate the data properly into HubSpot is always a very, very important step of actually being able to leverage that data, right? So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about getting webinar or events data in general in HubSpot. We are primarily going to focus on webinar or virtual events data, just because it's kind of easier to get more data. There are also use cases where you do like badging and where you do like you scanning cards and stuff like that, and you need all that data. But I think there's not as much. It doesn't like marketing events doesn't support it as well. Ryan, did you kind of think about that use case a little bit?
Yeah, there are some ways you can manually import attendee data into marketing events, and then if you are, if all you're doing is in-person events, I probably wouldn't recommend marketing events as the way to go. But if you're doing a combination of webinars and in-person events, and you want that data to be in the same place, it's just like importing a list of contacts. It's super easy. You just mark down the date that they attended or registered or canceled, and it will import all that data, and then you can leverage it exactly the same way you would use any of your webinar data. You can use it in the same report. So if you want combined in-person and virtual reporting, then you can do that.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, we are going to focus kind of on the virtual events, the webinar side today. And what I wanted to kind of walk you through, and this is, I promise you, as much as a pitch as you're going to get today. Most webinar platforms, you're maybe going to get attendee data, registrations, some kind of maybe custom properties. I don't know what last attended events 3478089 means. But you might have some data in your HubSpot that could help you make lists or do this attribution. Some of these, haven't been updated since 2021. I'm sure some of you couldn't even drink back in 2021. Or worst of the worst, you're going to get kind of a static list where you're not going to be able to have that update in real time, right? Because I think this is also another important thing is like. A lot of it is about speed, right, Ryan? Some of the things we're going to talk about today is like how do you get those leads in and out fast to the sales team? Because when they're hot, this is when you want to be talking to them, right? So if you have to every single time create the list manually or do an import, then you're wasting a lot of time. And that time to lead is going to be much higher. I don't know if you wanted to add anything about that, Ryan.
Yeah, this was a big problem I had. I don't want to, bad talk Riverside too much because I love that platform for recording podcasts and doing other stuff. But I tried it for webinars, and they announced this HubSpot integration, and the HubSpot integration requires you to manually go into Riverside and click sync leads, and then it creates a static list in HubSpot. And I was like, this is not it. I loved it for the video quality. It gives you the separate files for everybody's video, but that was like a
Yeah.
huge bummer when it came to, we couldn't even send like a reminder email without a manual step.
Yeah, and even if you make the list and it takes you 5 minutes to send the email, what happens to people that register in the meantime, right? You really want that kind of real-time connection. You want to be able to build dashboards that update automatically, lists that update automatically, so you don't have to do those manual steps. I'm actually going to show you something super cool in a couple of seconds, exactly on this topic. So yeah, this is kind of what you're going to get with most platforms, maybe some static lists, maybe a few timeline events for like attendance and registration, maybe a couple of custom properties. But if you're very serious about running webinars and getting all that data into HubSpot, you're going to want timeline events. So here we have live views with the percentage of attendance, poll answers, CTA clicks. I don't know. I saw Irina. I was taking these screenshots earlier. I saw Irina signed up. So I'm wondering if she's here because she was a great example in our HubSpot. But yeah, here you get a ton of information, the live views, the attendance, the poll data. We have this really cool custom card too. We're going to talk a little bit about this later in the use case section with the live views, the replay views, all the chat messages and poll answers in one space. So this for sales teams love this because they can just get all that data right there without having to go through the list or do any of those manual exports. And back to what you were saying earlier, you were talking about having to make these lists. This is maybe a tiny thing that we have, but that was so powerful, was these one-click lists. So as soon as you set up an event, you can say, make me a list of registrants, live viewers, people who click on a CTA, and people who answer a poll. And because they're active, they fit out automatically. So as soon as the event is done, you just have it there sitting, send it to sales, and they have all that data there. Tie this in with the custom card, and that's super powerful. These features open up a ton of really cool use cases. Here we have triggering a workflow when someone attends more than 50% of an event and answers a specific poll. We have the marketing events that we talked about earlier, so auto creating them, adding the registrants and the attendees and the percentage of watch times. You can then build your dashboards around that. All of that is like super powerful. Again, set it up. This is what Ryan's going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Set it up and it just runs. Here I was checking. Look at, I have Attribution Academy as one of my UTM sources. So here's like the growth of audience over time. So UTM data also flows over. Basically, using the contrast HubSpot integration, you get 20, 25 data points all sent over to HubSpot that open up a ton of really, really cool use cases. Again, I just want to say the goal of this event is not to pitch you. We're going to show you a bunch of things you can do with Zoom and with other platforms, but if you are serious about your webinars in HubSpot, take a look at Contrast.
There's one thing I want to mention with the timeline events, because this is something I talk about a lot in my attribution course, is that HubSpot is really good at telling you, at least within properties, it's really good at telling you the first thing that happened and the most recent thing that happened. So you'll see that with there's properties for the first event that someone attended and the most recent event. But then anything that happens in between there, it's not efficient to capture that in properties. You don't want to be creating 20 custom properties and then just first event attended, second event attended, third event attended. It would be a complete
or you overwrite it every time, right? And you lose that whole history, which is why you need the timeline events. And marketing events are also a really good fix for that. But yeah, it's terrible to access those kind of previous values.
Yep. Yeah. And timeline events is a huge game changer when it comes to capturing those hidden middle of the customer journey touches.
Yeah, it is. And we're also going to be talking about how we can use either the timeline events or the marketing events during attribution. So listen, I really want us to keep 15 minutes at the end to be able to do Q&A. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into our demo time. We have a bunch of really, really cool use cases. I think we have 5 main ones. If we zoom out a bit. So again, maybe some of you have seen these if you came through Ryan's posts. We're going to be talking about event attribution. I think Ryan even has a live build for that. Lead scoring, ICP self-selection, retargeting, and if we have time at the end, I'll even show you how to set up some really cool real-time Slack notifications so that you can really increase that speed to lead. I saw it earlier in chat. I love that term. Ryan, I'm going to let you take over the screen share. Over to you.
All right. You guys seeing the screen
yes,
here?
We can see your screen.
All right, so the first thing that we're going to be looking at is rotating leads based on poll responses. So you've already responded to a couple of polls in today's webinar. Using contrast, you can use those responses within workflows, which is super helpful if you want to let your attendees self-select into your ICP. Instead of having to, after a webinar, throw your whole attendee list into Clay and enrich everybody and try and, sort out who fits and who doesn't, why not just let the people who are attending do that for you and have it be, at the very beginning of your webinar when you're maybe waiting 3 or 4 minutes for people to roll in before you get started. Throw a poll up, ask people, who they are, what their job title is, what industry they work in, and you can get people to self-select into your ICP. So I have a simple version of that here. It's just looking at industry. So we're just looking at a question: what industry are you in? And then this is going to branch on the response. This example I put together: this company only cares about finance or healthcare. So we've got, you set the company record, industry, property to finance, you set it to healthcare, and then you can rotate it to a specific team. So I've got a finance sales team set up here. And that way you are sending like the most fit leads to the right people that should be following up with them. And then, of course, if somebody falls outside it, you can enroll them in a marketing nurture flow. You can send them to HubSpot's prospecting agent, but you don't need to waste sales time with stuff that falls outside of your ICP.
So I love that use case. And if I could kind of also jump in here, something that's going to be super cool is, one, you have the data side, right? You have the data sides, the workflows, attribution, everything that's going on behind the scenes. But you might have noticed if you've been here, since the beginning or since I think over 10 or 15 minutes, you can also turn polls into like these super interactive experiences. And so if you're asking people, what industry are you from? Oh, I'm in healthcare or I'm in finance. You can turn these into, we want to hear what you have to say. The goal is really to turn polls from we're sitting your data into you're participating in this event. We want to hear what you have to say. This is going to be used to share like correct content with you. And I see Luke just launched another poll. So maybe while we're doing this as an example, we can talk a little bit about what your biggest challenge running events is. And maybe based on this, we'll send you some follow-up content. So this is exactly the use case that Ryan is talking about in real time. So give us a vote in chat, and we'll follow up with some interesting content after this. So just wanted to jump on that point too, Ryan.
One of my favorite use cases for polling that I wish I had thought of this when we were planning this webinar, but you can go into a webinar and basically plan like multiple paths that the webinar could go down, and then let your attendees self-select into what they're most interested in doing. So, this question that we're asking now would be perfect for that kind of thing. We will be using it for follow-up content, but you could do it live. You can literally like see what the attendees want and then go down that path.
Beautiful.
All right, let's get back into use cases. let's look at lead scoring. This is something that I think people kind of overlook the role of events in lead scoring. People are looking at, page views, different like demographic and firmographic information, but event attendance or event registrations, event engagement, that's all really good, like high intent activity that you can score. So
Mm,
I've got this broken into two sections. One's just using data from the marketing events object, and then there's another section that is using contrast data. The marketing events data, it's somewhat limited. You can show, did they register? Did they attend? Did they cancel? There's also that attendance duration that you can add in here, but it's super easy to just add that into your lead scoring. You can add some timelines. So, like, maybe you want to score events that happened recently. Here,
mm,
I've got it set to reduce by 50% each month. That's going to give a higher weight to more recent marketing event activity, and then it will fade over time. Now, where it gets a lot more
Maybe
interesting, I
Ryan,
think,
before we dive
yeah,
into like the deeper use case, I don't know if everyone here is super familiar with what lead scoring is. Could you maybe just give us a quick intro to like the lead scoring object or process in HubSpot?
yeah. So, lead scoring is a way to kind of measure your marketing contacts in term. You can do it based on activity. You can do it based on like an ICP fit. I like doing a combination of those things. So you have one
Mm,
score for buying intent, one score for ICP fit, and then if both of those metrics are high, then you know that you have somebody who is a fit and is also ready to buy.
mm,
Um, so marketing events fits much more into the more behavioral side of things, the buying intent side. And essentially, what you do is you just define an action that they've taken, and you assign an amount of points. Um, so the idea here would be, maybe you have a workflow set up where there's a threshold where if someone's lead score exceeds 25 points, then they get routed to sales, or they get enriched and then evaluated or enrolled in a marketing nurture. But there's some action that happens when a lead exceeds a certain lead score.
mm. Yeah, and then you can start combining like the marketing events with page views or ebook downloads or any other kind of actions that might show interest, right?
Yeah. One of my favorites is like if they have a page view of one of your product or services pages, like
Or the
that's
pricing page.
yeah, pricing page. Those are way more valuable than like they read a blog post. So that's where this like weighting comes in. You
Mm.
can also have negative scoring. So
Yeah,
down here for
cancel, you have
canceled
it there.
marketing, yeah, subtract 10 points because they're going to get points added when they register, and then they're going to cancel. You want to have it go below what you actually added for the registration.
Amazing. Sorry, I know I'm the one interrupting you, and I'm the one saying we need to get a move on. But we have 15 more minutes and three more use cases. So I'm curious to see more about the other lead scoring use cases you have here.
Yeah, so this I created only using data that was pulled from contrast. Um,
Okay.
so you can differentiate between a live view and a replay view. If somebody watched the recording after the event actually happened, so you can differentiate there. You can do it based on completion rate. If they watch more than 50%, add more points than if they watch less than that. Um, Again, you can do it based on polling answers. So if somebody is self-selecting into your ICP, or they click a CTA that says request a demo, whether or not they actually fill out the form to request that demo,
Mm,
you will still know, hey, they clicked this, that is buying intent, just clicking it alone.
mm.
So you can add lots of points for
Because
that, and then sales can follow up with them.
yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, like the very simple use case, maybe you're tracking like, oh, they registered because that's the only info you get, and then they book the demo. But in between, so many things happen, right? They register, they attend, they answer a poll to self-select, they click on the CTA, they see the demo page, and then they look at your pricing page, and then they actually book a demo. And understanding that flow is also what helps you then build those flows in terms of content, in terms of outreach, that you can really get people from those registrations into the event, into engaging with you, into actually booking those demos or just buying your product.
Yeah.
Amazing. Are we moving on to our third use case, or do you have something else here?
Yeah, let's keep things moving. We can go through this one quickly because this kind of builds on the stuff that we've talked about before. This is going to be different types of retargeting based on the attendance. So, they have a live view of a webinar. You do some ICP matching that could be based on polling responses, or it could be based on lead scoring. And then, if they're a match, you send them down one route. If they're not, you mark them as not a marketing contact. You don't have to pay for those anymore. Get them out of the system. Then down here, we're looking at different attendance durations of the specific webinar. So if somebody attends less than 50% of the webinar, maybe you don't want to bother with putting a bunch of sales or marketing resources towards them. Just add them to an ads audience, start advertising. Hopefully they re-engage. If they're 50 to 75%, do a marketing nurture workflow. And then 75% plus, those are people who are highly engaged. Like, let's get them in front of a salesperson. They deserve some follow-up.
A super cool use case I actually spoke to a potential customer about last week. So they run events to really, really big audiences, like thousands of people, right? And at the 25-minute mark, they show a CTA with their offer, right? And so what we were trying to figure out is how can we use this to know if people saw the offer? And so what we do is we use the live completion rate. It's a 60-minute event. 25 over 60 is, I don't know, I'm not going to do the math, maybe like 40%. If they've seen more than 40%, you know that they saw the CTA, right? And so that's even just seeing it. So that's even one more step, right? It's seeing it, clicking on it, actually buying it. It's a great signal to send them more content. Maybe they like the offer, didn't have the time. Maybe they like the offer, or XYZ. So I thought that's also another really cool use case. Based on when things are happening during the event, you can kind of use that as a trigger to they know or don't know certain points of information.
Yeah, that's a great use case. All right, let's get into one of the more exciting ones. Talking about tying event activity to revenue. This is again something I talk about extensively in the course, is how to tie marketing activity to revenue. So this is specific to events, but because you have marketing events data, because you have contrast app timeline events, this is super easy to connect to revenue. So what I've got here is it's a very simple workflow. The enrollment is just like whenever you want to create a deal based on a contact. I've got a simple version of that, which is their lifecycle stage equals SQL. We're going to create a deal. The interesting part is what happens within this deal creation action. Down here at the bottom, we've got add timeline activity from the enrolled contact to the deal, starting from, you've got options here. I think by default, it's set to 30 days. But what this is going to do is copy over any of that contrast app event data, any of the marketing events data that is attached to the contact for the last 90 days. It's going to copy it to the deal record, which makes reporting really easy, because then instead of having to look at like contacts that are associated to a deal, you're just looking at data that exists on the deal record.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that, like back associating the timeline activity. That's super cool. Yeah, and then you choose 90 days because you only want relevant stuff, right? You don't want things that happened like 3 years ago, which are probably out of statute of limitations, right?
Exactly. I would not set this to all time. but you've got a few different options here. 90 days, I feel like, is a good one. If somebody engages in a marketing event within 90 days before they become a deal, I would consider that like definitely having influenced the deal creation.
For sure. Okay. I see we have a few questions in chat. We're not going to take them all live, but just a few things. You are going to get a recording. I know we're going through this super fast. Everything's going to be recorded. You're going to get an email. You can have time to watch through it. Dale, you can watch this as many times as you want. I promise. And Francisca, I see, is this possible only with Contrast or HubSpot events? A lot of these use cases can be done only with marketing events. The lead scoring, the attendance duration, some of the dashboards we're going to walk through, that can be done with just standard marketing events. Of course, you can do a lot more, and these are some of the things we're also walking you through today now. So yeah, just wanted to kind of cover those quickly. Okay, Ryan, I think we have 10 more minutes before we jump into Q&A. Our next, do you have more here, or are we moving on to the dashboards?
I do. I'm going to actually do a live build of a attribution report, just to show you how easy it is. It is truly so easy to do with these types of data that we've been talking about today. So let's go into reports.
Okay, Ryan, I'm going to full screen the screen so people can really get a beautiful view of what you're building.
Yeah, I can also zoom in a little bit because I have a ginormous monitor here.
We're good.
Okay, so I'm going to go through this quickly, but hopefully it all comes through, and we'll have the recording, so you'll be able to revisit it. Going to build a custom report, and because we've copied data to the deal record in that workflow we showed previously, the main focus of this is going to be deals, but I also want to add more data sources. We've got all kinds of stuff here. You can see we've got marketing events data down here. I'm actually going to skip over that all the way at the bottom here for app events. This is the data that Contrast is pushing into the platform. And this deal builder view should look pretty familiar. What I'm going to do is select app event.
Just before you get started, one more thing here. I saw as you were scrolling through and you were kind of joining the data from the deals to the marketing events, there was also here, oh yeah, perfect. If you can kind of scroll down here a bit, there are, marketing event analytics, marketing event participation. So even if you don't use Contrast, there are still things you're going to be able to build using these marketing events. So yeah, make sure that you also check those out. Even if you don't want to use Contrast, we still want you to be able to build amazing dashboards in HubSpot. Yeah, sorry for interrupting, Ryan.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so all of the data that I have in this is from replays. So I'm gonna use that, but you could do live webinar data as well. So we're gonna go and grab the webinar name, go back to deals and do the amount in company currency. That's going to give us the amount of the deal. Let's do is closed won because we only care about one revenue. And then let's make sure that the webinar name is known, so we're not looking at a bunch of deals that don't have any webinar influence. And just like that, we've got a report that shows the names of our events that we've run and the amount of revenue that they've influenced. And it took me, like 2 minutes to build that report while I was narrating it. So it is really, really easy to do this once you have the data in place.
And I'm sure even going into like more in-depth use cases, we could probably measure how many replay views, or aggregate that at the deal level and use that to kind of say, okay, how many deal views on average do you have per dollar of revenue generated? And that also helps marketers go to see their leadership team and say, look at how much revenue is going through our webinars. And that should be an amazing point for you to be able to say, okay, we need to invest more in webinars, we need to get that data in, we need to build reports, build dashboards, build the attribution, because all of this is like so valuable, right? And here you did it for replays, but you could do it for live views. You could check the influence of CTA clicks or poll answers. So yeah, all of that is super, super cool. So I was gonna say I didn't want to interrupt you. Maybe we're gonna have to do a dog review if your dog doesn't mind being handled, of course. But I can see that people are loving the dog in the background.
Yeah, he is angry that I've locked him out of the room. I'm gonna open up the door and you guys can get a view of Giles real quick.
Okay, let's let's do it. I didn't think we'd be getting so much interest in chat for the for the dog.
You know what? I opened it up and he's gone. He's left. But he'll
That's
probably show back up.
so
I've
good.
actually got 3 dogs at my house right now because I'm dog sitting for my brother as well. So we may have some cameos. There are multiple lessons in my course where there are dogs in the background laying
Oh,
on this
listen,
couch back here.
if that's not a reason, a bonus reason to get Ryan's course, I don't know what is. Ryan, was that your last use case, or do you have some more? 'Cause I have a quick one I wanted to
Yeah,
show.
that's the last one. So
Okay.
I know you have an additional one. I talked a lot about marketing stuff. I know you have a little bit more expertise on the sales side. So, do you want to talk about what you can do with this data from a sales perspective?
Yeah, sure. So this is going to tie into something that I was quickly mentioning earlier, and also kind of just the importance of getting to people quickly, right? People are attending your events, they're watching your replays. Um, that's when they're the most aware of your brand, of your offering, probably most likely ready to buy. Uh, it's never a perfect solution, but you really want to get to those people fast. And so this is a workflow that I set up with a lot of our customers. It's super, super, super simple. What you can see here is basically in HubSpot, we have these incremental properties where we measure for all of your audience across events. How many times have they registered? How many live views? How many replay views? So what we have here is a super simple workflow that triggers when someone attends more than 3 events or watches more than 5 replays. But the reason I have these as different numbers is because I think a live attendance is um, a stronger signal than a replay view. It's kind of easy to click through a bunch of replays, but if you're showing up at a specific date and time, then you're probably more interested. So I kind of try to bias that a little bit towards live views. And then as soon as this person goes through, so the second the event is done, the properties get updated, we rotate to myself, and then I send myself a Slack message. This email has shown a lot of interest in our webinars. I'm sending over the last event that they've registered to, and I have a little button here so I can email the person. So that means as soon as the event is done, I get an instant notification. This person is super interested. Maybe I get like 4 or 5 of them because it's like a couple of people have showed up. Another use case I could do is aggregate this data at the company level and say this company now has a total of 10 live views across our events, and say these are the people that viewed. This was their last registration. This is the total of their replay views. So there's really a ton we can do there. And then what I wanted to tie this in with is, if I can pull this up, I realize I should have done this before. You can give me a quick second. So I was showing you earlier how we can, we have this custom card in HubSpot where you can see, everything people have been doing, all their registrations, their live views, their replay views, all in HubSpot. And so if now I get this notification that this person has attended their 3rd event, and you're gonna have to bear with me here because I also have a gigantic screen, and so my screen resolution is off. And so to make sure that you can see everything properly, I'm gonna try and clean things up a bit. But here, if I show this, so I just got a notification. This person just attended their 3rd event. And now I can jump in here and I can see, okay, this is what they've registered to. These are their live and replay views. I can see all of their chat messages, poll answers, and CTA clicks. And so I don't even have to go in and look through their timeline history or try to figure out what they've been talking about, what polls they've been clicking on. It's all just there. And so I can now use this to write a super relevant message. So if I look specifically here, I can say, this is Lauren. Lauren's based in London. Her top marketing priority of 25 is generating more qualified leads. So I think we talked about this use case a little bit earlier, using polls also to qualify people and understand what they're interested in. So now I know she's based in London. I know she's interested in generating more qualified leads. So what I can do now is reach out to her and say, hey, I'm traveling to London next week for a conference about XYZ. I saw you were interested in generating more qualified leads. And I can now use this to write just some super relevant messaging. Ryan, we're right on time for Q&A. 15 minutes left. I think you're muted, Ryan, by the way. Is there anything else? We have a ton of questions. I think we have over 10 questions saved. We have 15 minutes for Q&A. Please get typing if you have any questions, if there's anything that's unclear. What we're going to avoid doing is going through things we've already seen because everything's recorded and you're going to get the replay. So if we can really focus on kind of extra questions or different topics, this is the time. Get typing. Luke's also there trying to answer some things. Anything that Luke cannot get to, we will answer. So let's start going. Sarah. Ooh, this is a good one. I read this and I wanted to ask you this question, Ryan. If you have a recurring event, can you merge them under the same marketing event? Do you know this?
That's a great question. I don't think there's any merge functionality in marketing events right now. Because it is this like weird nebulous semi-object, it doesn't play well with things like Koalify is a great like deduplication or merge tool. It doesn't work with that. So maybe there's some ways with the API, but I am not a technical enough user to know that off the top of my head.
So I can jump in here because when you run a recurring event on Contrast, they all have the same URL. And so all that you can do with marketing events, you can do with the Contrast integration because they all have a same shared part of the URL. And you can build registration lists, attendees, poll votes, CTAs across recurring events, which is not currently supported by marketing events. Maybe they will one day. But yeah, Sarah, if that is your use case, I don't think it's native into marketing events, but you can do it. We have a question from Delaney. Are marketing events useful for anything with in-person events? We briefly touched on this at the beginning. Maybe Ryan, you want to take this?
Yeah, it is definitely not built for that, but there are ways you can leverage it. You can import attendee lists. You can import registrations and cancellations. I think you can even do the attendance duration by importing a start date and end date of how long they attended. So you can get that data manually into marketing events. You just put it in a CSV and import it like you would a contact list. And there might be some ways with the API or other platforms that leverage marketing events, but I would say if you're only running marketing events, it's not the best solution. There are other solutions out there. Marketing events are best for virtual events, webinars, and specifically, I would highly recommend having an integrated platform that works with marketing events, because otherwise it's going to be a lot of manual work.
For sure. What's worth considering, I saw a few people in chat talking about Happily. I think Happily is probably one of the best tools if you're looking to get that in-person event data into HubSpot. I don't know if they integrate with marketing events just yet. I'm sure that if they don't, that it'll come quickly, maybe. So we had a few people from the team signed up. So they're maybe using this to justify building it into Happily now too, but they have those custom objects, and I'm guessing pretty soon marketing events too.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they don't use marketing events currently.
Maybe it will come. What if we get that event data through imports? Can we then update the marketing event properties? Ryan, did you play around with the imports into marketing events? What does that look like?
Yeah, you can backfill events. So like this happened to me actually one time. We had built this webinar on a different platform, and then it wasn't working the way we wanted to, so we switched over. But we were gonna not have any of that marketing event data, but we were actually able to just import the list of people who had already registered, so it backfilled that event, and then we were able to continue with the live registrations with it auto-populated.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So yeah, I think obviously it's not an ideal situation because you want all that to be flowing in natively, but if you're doing in-person events and you have a list or something like that, you can always import. Okay, moving on to questions. We use Zoom webinars. We're using HubSpot to be able to track replay views. Do you have a specific rec there, Ryan? If not, I can take this.
I do not. To my knowledge, Zoom webinars doesn't offer that natively. I mean, you could upload it to like Wistia or another video platform. HubSpot natively has some video tools. I would say the replay tracking on those is kind of spotty. I've definitely built some workarounds to track that kind of thing, but this shouldn't be a commercial, but honestly, the way Contrast does it makes it really, really easy to the point where I wouldn't use something else if I had the option.
Yeah, if I can just jump in here, Melissa, I think two of the things we see a lot of are either one, you host it on your website, you put it behind a form, you do a redirect after the form submission, and you use that form submission to say this person watched the replay. It's not perfect. You're now mixing marketing events and form submissions, and it's a bit of a pain. I would just recommend pick a platform that does both. And I mean, what Ryan said, I won't. I'm not here to suggest it. Okay, if a deal was this is a good one. If a deal was associated to 2 events, would that revenue be counted twice?
Yeah, this is a great kind of clarification I can make. So the report that I built is specifically showing revenue influence, which is slightly different than like true revenue attribution. So the way I kind of distinguish those two is like anything that passes through a marketing event and ends up being, turning into revenue, that revenue would be influenced. So for this webinar, say you guys get a bunch of signups, you end up making $100,000 off of it, then this webinar, it would count all of that. If attendees of this webinar had also attended one of your previous webinars, then those deals would also be counted as influence for those previous webinars. Where you get into attribution, kind of that true attribution where you are breaking down and assigning credit for a certain amount of revenue that can't be double counted. That's definitely possible. What I would do there is create a property on the deal record that counts the number of events, and then you just divide the influenced amount by that number of events, and then you can get to with a calculated property, some portion where you could actually assign the credit for that amount of revenue. It's a little bit more complex to set up. You can get to it, but I would caution people that looking at it from that perspective and trying to get to like an exact ROI of an event is a little tricky because there are so many marketing touch points that are not able to be tracked. So when you start assigning specific amounts of revenue and looking at ROI calculations, they are inherently imperfect.
I mean, attribution is inherently imperfect, right? So
yes, exactly. But if you are using it as like a directional indicator and saying, this event worked really well, this messaging drives revenue, that's good. That's a great way to use it. If you're saying, this specific event didn't hit the ROI that we wanted, we should scrap it, and not do more webinars, that's a bad way to do it.
Yeah, it's complicated. But I think this question from Andrew was also specifically on like your dashboard, and that was on a deal basis. So there, the revenue wouldn't have been counted twice because we're just looking at deals.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm pushing, but we have a ton more questions. We have one from Tamila here. In our case, deals are created in Salesforce. We would like to build attribution in HubSpot. Is there a workaround for marketing and attribution report in HubSpot in this case? So I can quickly touch on this. As long as the data is integrated into HubSpot and you have a process for creating deals from Salesforce into HubSpot, you'll be able to do everything that we looked at today. That would be kind of my quick answer. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this, Ryan.
Yeah, the tough part here is copying over the timeline activity data, because that is it's really easy to do that when you are creating the deal in a HubSpot workflow. If you're creating it through an integration, it can be a little bit tougher. It is possible. There's certainly, if you are a more technical user, if you're able to use custom coded actions, you can directly just port that stuff over. And there's what I would recommend if you are not a technical user, if you don't have Data Hub or something else that would allow you to do that, is mapping, figuring out what are the most important data points and then mapping those to properties, and either using a sync property or like directly copying from the contact to the deal. But properties are much easier to get over after a deal is created than activity.
Okay, makes sense. I hope that helps, Sumira. I didn't understand everything, but I'm sure it's helpful. For Q&A, we also nurture deals with webinars. Makes it super hard to know if webinars are good at nurturing, or it just looks that way because we nurture content deals with webinars. How to solve the hen and egg problem? Oh yeah, I need to read that again. I mean, Ryan, you want to take this, or I have some thoughts?
Yeah, this is another inherent problem with attribution, which is that most attribution is not going to measure causation. It's all correlation. So you're looking at a series of marketing touch points that lead up to revenue. It's not actually saying, because those things happened, that person became a customer. What it's really saying is that, people who attend a webinar are 30% more likely to become a customer. There's no causation there. It's all correlation. I think this is like you said in the question, a hen and the egg problem. I don't know that there's a right answer there.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, I see we're almost coming up on time. Ryan, let's try to speed through. I think we have 6 more questions. So let's try to get these out of the way as possible. For Marcus, if you track your revenue via custom contact properties, which get updated dynamically, you obviously can't use closed one. Any idea?
I'm kind of confused by this. I'm not sure. I would love to hear in the comments, Marcus, why you're using custom contact properties for revenue instead of deals. I've not seen that before. But what I will say is that in your reporting, there are lots of ways to filter the data. So if you have a property on the contact that indicates that that's revenue and not just like an open deal amount, then you should be able to filter for that data.
Okay. Actually, the more I read this, the more I think it makes sense. What I think is maybe being mixed up here is alignment of separate databases. Okay, that was actually not what I thought. Marcus says alignment of separate databases.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost on that one as well.
Yeah, me too. Listen, Marcus, drop us a DM. We'll we'll try to figure this out. We have a question from Kira. For the attribution report, would you create the deal workflow any differently if you were going to backtrack / want an attribution report for close 1 deals in a previous quarter?
Ooh, that's interesting. Backfilling is tough when it comes to attribution data. I would probably have to look at like a specific instance of this to figure it out. But what I will say is that a lot of attribution it really only works from the point you build it forward. It is, unless you are only using like existing infrastructure and not building any new properties, any new, workflows, it's pretty hard to backfill that stuff. It's possible. And I keep mentioning the API. It's a lot easier if you have someone technical on hand, because you can leverage like property histories or timeline events a lot more. So it is possible with that stuff. But again, you need a technical user, somebody who understands how to run an API call. And not everybody has that.
That's true. Luke, give me a second before Luke, give me 1 second before we move on to the next question. I know we're on time. Some of you probably have calls, are going to leave. So I just wanted to use this. Ryan, if you have a few more minutes, we'll close it off with the questions, but I just want to share this. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I think we had over nearly 400 people show up over the course of this hour. So that was super, super fun, super active chat. Thanks for chatting with us. If you want to run webinars and you're using HubSpot, check out Contrast. That is all I have to say. And Ryan, I think you have a special offer for us today too.
Yeah, my Attribution Mastery certification course launches today, which is very exciting, very nerve-wracking. But I put together a special offer code for attendees of this webinar, so you guys can get 25% off of that if you want to sign up. And if you have any questions about it, hit me up on LinkedIn.
Amazing. We're also going to be running a poll in chat if you want to learn more about contrast, marketing events, and getting all that data into HubSpot, the reporting. Drop us a message there, and we'll reach out to you. I will very happily hop on and talk to you about all of that. So, those who want to stay, feel free to stay. Ryan, do you have 5 more minutes to go through some final questions?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Let's do it.
Okay. If we use, this is one for me then. Cool. If we use contrast and have the HubSpot integration set up, is there still a good use case for marketing events for reporting? Better to use the contrast sales ready. I would honestly say here, there's, depending on the use case, some are going to be better than others. There are some use cases where it'd be easier to use marketing events just in terms of getting it set up, just because of the availability in the reports. There are other use cases where there are going to be a billion things that you're going to be able to do with our integration that you won't be able to do through marketing events. So, if this is something that you're interested in and you have specific questions, drop us a message on Intercom or DM me, or you can message Luke, and we'll try to figure out what works best. But yeah, I would say honestly a mix of both. Our goal is to send as much data as possible, and then to give you the tools to build whatever makes the most sense for you. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Ryan.
No, I totally agree. I think pretty much anything you can do with marketing events, you can do with contrast data, but it's just a matter of like what's easier for you in the UI.
Perfect. I think we have a couple more. We also we already did this one.
We did this one.
we did the hand and egg problem. Does every webinar registrant need to be tagged to that deal in order to build the attribution dashboard? Any workarounds if that's not the case? This is a good one.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who attends a webinar, you want that data to be attached to the deal in some way. If it could be that you're just associating the contacts over, there's a lot of good reporting you can do there. It's better if you can get the activity data directly on the deal. But yeah, I mean, obviously don't associate webinar registrants that don't have an active deal to a deal. But if you have a deal and contacts associated with that deal have attended webinars, you do want all of that data to be there.
I guess another way you could do it, but then this really depends on your business model too, is, can one company have multiple deals associated? Maybe you could just measure that at the company level and look at the associated deal in the amount. That would be one way to do it. But then if you're running like enterprise sales where you maybe have multiple touch points within the company, this is all going to be kind of complex. But I think this maybe goes back to what Ryan, you were saying earlier, is like, you need this attribution set up early, right? So if someone registers, you probably want to associate them to the deal because they're one of the touch points, and these are all things you need to preempt and that are kind of harder to do later on.
Yeah, I will say there's a lot you can do with calculated properties. You can do roll-ups, which look at, say you wanted to count all of the, the number of events that people at a company have attended. You can do a calculated property that looks at all of the contacts at that company and rolls up those events, and then you've got a good number there that you can use for other calculations or reports.
Perfect. I think we have 2 more questions, or are we done, Luke? I think there is just one more I wanted to get to. Maybe I'd love to just get your opinion on this, Ryan. This is less webinar related, but super left field question. What systems does Ryan have in place for attributing AI traffic into pipeline, including webinar engagement. So what's your take on this like whole AI traffic thing? Do you have any cool tips there?
Yeah, so HubSpot recently added AI referrals as an original source and
I
latest
saw
source
that.
option.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So I have no idea how accurate that is. It it's possible. I mean, I have gotten some through my website, so it must be doing something. I have no idea how accurate that is. Honestly, the best way that I've found to measure stuff like that is what I would consider more like dark funnel interactions, harder to track stuff, is
Mm.
to do. You've probably seen it 1,000 times on LinkedIn, but throw the "How did you hear about us?" question
Self-reported
in your bottom of
attribution.
funnel forms,
Yeah, of
and
course.
people will tell you, "I found you on ChatGPT," and that's the
Yeah,
that's the most honest and accurate way.
my guess the original source pickup for HubSpot is just looking at either the referrer or any of the UTMs. Sometimes ChatGPT and Perplexity, they put a UTM in, but not always. We've seen that in our GA. It's kind of wonky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's never perfect, right? We can only try. We're 6 minutes over and still have like 150 people on. So
Well,
I think
I've
Luke
got
got to.
I've got a little surprise for anybody who stayed on.
Yes.
The dogs are in the room now, so uh,
Let's
I've
swap.
got in the
Boy.
background over here. This is Echo, my brother's dog. She's a Great Dane, and then I'm gonna try and get Giles up here. Hey, bud. Oh, he didn't like that. This is Giles.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, so yeah, that should appease all of the dog.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay. That's amazing. Listen, I think we got so much interest. People were so happy in the chat. We got a ton of people that wanted a follow up. There's so many more things we can do. Ryan, I think we're gonna have you on for a part 2 if you're up for it. Thanks again so much everyone for showing up. Luke, if you can drop Ryan's link in chat again, that would be amazing. Check out Ryan's course discount code. Is it only for today? How long is the discount code?
It's good. It's good for whenever. Like if you attended this webinar, you've got it.
Perfect. Thank you again so much. I hate leaving when like 150 people sit here. But thank you so much everyone for joining. Ryan, this was amazing. You'll receive the recording. It'll have everything. Luke and Tim, people that have said that they were interested in learning more will be reaching out to you. We're going to be creating a ton of content from this. So thanks so much everyone for showing up. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And have a beautiful day, evening, afternoon, morning. And yeah, see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Max.